Hi everyone, it's Tracy with Transpersonal Art Therapy and Visual Flow Artistry. First of all, thank you so much for the feedback on the 4 individual tumblers here. Decided to do this tutorial to help y'all be able to make it. I'm going to try and do this real quick in one down and dirty, not too fancy schmancy videos, no fancy lighting. I'm actually holding my phone, so I'm one-handed, but I wanted to get this out to you as quickly as possible. So that y'all can go and make these yourselves. And trust me, you can do it. It's not difficult. I want to start just by talking about the box that I've made here. This is a smaller, compact tumbler turner than I've seen in most cases. This is only about 6 inches high. And this 4-part turner is only 2 feet long. Excuse me. The reason that I did that was because I wanted it to be portable. There are times that I want to sit out on the back lanai or something like that and resin while I'm looking at the water, or I want to take it on the road with me and I'm visiting family, not down here in Florida. My family's all up in Massachusetts. And I want to throw it in the back of the car so that I can continue to work while I'm up north visiting, etc. So I wanted to make this one ultra portable and a little bit smaller. And I realized that by doing that, I don't need to even make anything bigger than this. I use poplar wood, and the reason that I use poplar is a couple of reasons. One, it's really, really light. And 2, it comes from Home Depot really nicely finished. It's got a great finish on it. I may actually cover it in silicone, which I tend to do with my turners anyways, simply because I want to be able to pick the epoxy right off of it, and it comes off if I coat it in silicone. But in this case, I may leave it. I don't know. I may bling it out. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this one yet, but this is one I just created just the other day. And this one does not have timers on it, but the motors all do turn individually the way I've wired on it. I did not put timers on this one in particular because I wanted to keep the weight down and wasn't too concerned about being able to time it. So I will be closing up the end as soon as I finish this video tutorial, and I actually have a handle here. I just bought a cabinet handle to, once I put the end piece on here, to attach the handle and be able to carry this. And again, it's super portable. So these are 24 inches long and only 5-6 inches high to create the box, and just basic carpentry for that purpose. You may be wondering, where are your switches? My switches are underneath this hinge section right here. So there's 4 of them, 1 for each turner. And the reason that I did that is because when epoxy is going and splashing, or if I drop anything on it, I don't want the switch obviously to be stuck and epoxied solid. So I want to be able to move them. So I figured if I put a cover over it, I would be able to protect them from getting debris or anything in them. I also use these small rocker switches. I know I've seen a lot of people using light switches, etc. I was trying to keep the profile as small as possible, as neat as possible, and take up as little space. So I got these simple rocker turners. They each have a light on them so you can tell when they're powered on. And then I just created a little box and I hinged it over here in back. So you can see that it's all hinged and it just raises up, and then I can turn the power. And I also put these here just as stands, as many of you do. I vary my connections. Sometimes I use the double-ended connection. Sometimes I use this simply because I want to be able to have them different lengths when I attach my PVC pipes to them. All of these are standard. They go through the middle. I'm going to open up and show you the middle in a minute. But what I also did is, sometimes you've got heavier cups. As you can see down here, I put this little rolling caster there. It's actually a window, part for a window, or a cabinet, I'm sorry. And it's got little wheels on it. I'm not sure if you can see it, if I can get down there. It's got these little wheels on it. So if you've got a cup that's particularly heavy, it's going to rest right on those wheels, and it's not going to rest on the wood, which makes it a little bit better in terms of being able to turn and stay steady. And it creates this little rotating effect. And I have those on all 4. And this one you can see is actually higher, but when the weight of the cup turner is on it, it does move it down. So I add those actually just to make it a little bit nicer in terms of movement. So first thing I did was basically I took these 2 pieces and I cut using a hole saw, and I will have all of the items that I've used, everything in the description. Some of them are here. I will put those in the description so that you know what to get, where to buy it, etc. But I put these two boards together. I clamped them together and used a hole saw to cut holes in both the back section and the front section to match so that I didn't have to worry about where did I put this hole in the back. I just cut them all at once. And then I both glued and nailed the base together. So it's very solid. I did the same thing with this. I glued it, as you can see, from the inside, and also nailed it with just some little finish nails out here. And then I sanded the top. I didn't do a lot of sanding on this piece. I really just sanded through the corners just to keep it. I'm completely entirely accident prone, so if anybody's going to get hurt, I am. So I just wanted to take down the rough edges, etc. But Poplar comes so nice that you really don't need to sand it or anything like that, which was another reason that I got it. So let's open this bad boy up and let me show you how it's wired. And I'm going to try and use the back of my workshop station here to be able to hold it so that you can see it. There we go. Okay, so the motors are here in the back. They are attached with just some simple screws, and for any of you that have bought these motors, you know that they come with just two basic blue and white wires. I made a hole underneath a bigger hole where the wires are connected, and I fed those blue wires through that smaller hole, and I will start there. So this is the two wires coming through from the bottom hole there. And what I have done to those is I have attached a black wire and a white wire to them using basic couplers here, or basic wire connectors. The reason for that is because the motors come through with two blue wires and they're nondescript. It doesn't matter which is the blue, which is the hot, which is the black wire, which is the white wire. It's just for ease of labeling and ease of wiring at the end that I've added on and created a black wire. You can choose either the left or the right. I tried to keep it consistent through the whole thing. So this is a white, this is a black. So to the blue wires coming from the motors, you want to add a piece of black and white wire. You can see I've got the coils. I have white, green, and black. Black is power, white is neutral, green is for ground. And then there's some of the wire connectors. This is the actual connector that connects two pieces of wire. These in case, these shrink wrap with the heat gun. And then these are little spade connectors, which you'll see in a second. And I just bought a box of wire connectors as well. So anyway, that's the first thing. A section of black and a section of white connected to each. And again, I also will put a download link for the instruction manual for making this. Some people learn visually, some people learn by reading and diagrams. So I did do an instruction manual as well for those of you that learn better by following step by step and reading and seeing diagrams. I'm a graduate school professor and psychologist, so I try to think about how my students learn, and that's what I came up with. So I hope it helps you. Standard attachments for my basic cup turners with the brass couplers, as we all know, and however you connect your PVC pipe. I use 3/4 inch here. And then at the bottom here, I have another hole. And this hole is simply for the cord, the cord that's ultimately going to power it. I used an inexpensive, I think it was an $8 extension cord from Walmart or Home Depot. Inside of that, I cut one end off and left the plug end on. And inside of that, I've peeled back the black section, and the green, black, and white wires are all exposed there, so I was able to do that. I put that through the back, and that ultimately is going to come down here and power the whole kit and caboodle when it's done. So one cord, which makes it really easy, and then all of the wires are inside. Now, in addition to that, I've added 3 terminals here. And you can see here's a white one, here's a red one, which is the power, and there's the green one for ground. And if you're a child of the 70s or even the early 80s, I think, like I was, you may remember Garanimals. My mother used to make me wear Garanimals. They were clothes you matched based on color. They all had tags. You just basically, it was easy for her. If I picked blue pants, here's a blue shirt to go with it. So I've color-coded this in a Garanimals kind of way, just to make it easy for people to understand. So let's talk about this power cord first. This power cord here has 3 wires, as I mentioned, black, white, and green. And each one of those wires is going to one of these terminals. So this is the white wire from the power cord. This is the black wire from the extension power cord, and then the green wire is attached over here. I've labeled them as well with just a little tape. So that's going to the terminal from the cord, and this is going to the terminal from the cord to the neutral. So very simple. That extension cord wire comes out, white, black, and green, all attached to the terminal on one side. Makes it really simple. Then all I have to do from that to connect these top 4 wires, each of these 4 wires comes from a motor. The white wire, which is attached to the blue wire, goes into each of these little segments. Again, this is just basic wiring. However you want to put your attachments on, put your leads on. You can do it with bare wire, etc. I use a little lead, and I have them all labeled. But it's the white wire from the motor, or the blue wire that I made into white wire, and each of them goes into a terminal on the other side. That's as simple as you need for the neutral. And this neutral is a black, so you've got it there. From the black connector, where this black wire is coming in from the extension cord, I had to add 4 black wires. So this is additional wire. This doesn't connect to the motor. It's going to connect to the switch, but you'll want to cut 4 pieces of black wire that are long enough to make it from the terminal to each of your 4 motors. And that is going to go to the switch. This is your load. This is your power. That's why it's red. That's why these little things are marked with red tape, because you want the power, the load power, to go to your red terminal here. And again, we're just doing this by color. It makes it really, really simple to match everything up. So 4 sections, just cut 4 extra sections of wire. Then the green wire here, again from the power cord, and I cut 4 sections of green wire. These are all going to go ground to each switch. So green is ground. So 4 sections of green wire, enough to make it to each of the switches, and you'll be good to go. So in addition to the black and white wires coming off of each of the motors, I had to connect 4 new black wires and 4 new green wires to the terminals. Those are ultimately going to go to the switches. So what does it look like over here? The switches have 3 leads. Here's one of the switches right here. Hopefully you can see that well enough. Again, I'm holding it, and I am going to get a screwdriver just so that I can be able to share about that, guys. The terminals for the switch, here's one there, and one there. So there's 3. Make sure that you get the rocker switches or whatever kind of switch you're going to use. And again, you can use a light switch, but they have a black, 2 blacks basically, and a green. This one here on the end is brass. So I attach my green ground wire to the brass lead. The other 2 are silver. So green is ground, and that goes to the brass one. The silver one in the middle wire comes from the motor. In other words, that is the black wire that I created from the blue that actually goes to the middle of the switch. So green is ground, goes to brass. Middle is motor, M for M. Middle goes to the motor, the black wire that comes directly from the motor, which goes onto the switch. This one here is the load, and the load is last, not brass. That is how I've decided it's going to remember it. So the load comes from the terminal. That is the red. That is the power. I'm touching this right now. It's not powered on, or else I would not be touching it. I would order on electrocuting myself. So that is the red wire that comes off of each of the terminal extensions. That's the extra wire that you created that goes here. So green is ground, and that is brass. M is motor. That comes the black wire from the motor. And this is the load that goes on last that is not brass. So 2 silver and a brass. And I've had to do that for each of the terminals here. So this is the green wire that is brass in ground. The middle wire coming from the second motor's middle. And then this is the load, which is the red wire that comes from the middle terminal. So ground, motor from middle, and last is the load, and that is not brass. So I did that for all 3 of the wires. I hope that that makes sense. It's the easiest way for me to be able to explain it to you. I have yet to power this one on. I just got it all wired up. So I'm going to plug this bad boy in. I'm going to close the cover up. It's not secured. I will obviously secure it and neaten up the wires when I go to put it into full assembly mode. But for right now, I'm just going to lean it so that I can access the switches and plug it in and see what ultimately happens. So let's go for it. Okay, the true test. And I hit the switch here. And we've got a motor turning. Yay! And then I hit this switch here. And we've got two. Perfect. And let's see, third one also works. Yay, excellent. And fourth one, I've got all four tumblers turning. And as you can see, the buttons have a little red light, so you know what's on, as if you wouldn't know that turning was turning, but they do have a power light on them to let you know. So all four turners are wired correctly, work correctly, don't trip anything, we're good to go. And I hope I've kept this short and simple. Again, everything I've used, including all the tools, are listed in the product description, and stay tuned for an instruction manual if it helps you to have something in writing to be able to do this. I have created that as well, and will include a link as soon as I can. Thanks so much, guys. Again, this is Traci. I am a transpersonal art psychologist and owner of Visual Flow. I appreciate the feedback. I welcome comments, any criticism. Please keep it nice. I hope that this helps you. I don't mean to take any money away from companies that are making great tumbler turners, but this is a really cost-effective way to build one for yourself, to have motors that work individually, to have it conveniently wired, to not take up too much space, and really accommodate the needs of tumbler artists and all of you creative folks. And honestly, if you can match colors, you can do this. I welcome to help. I'm happy to help you if I need to. Please put your questions, comments again in the description. I do read them and I will get back to you, I promise. But for now, I hope this helps, and have a great day. Thanks so much.